What's going on, everybody? We have some cool Bitcoin stuff to talk about. We have ARK Invest's very own spot Bitcoin ETF with record daily inflow now. We're going to touch on that. We also have Hong Kong introducing some potential spot Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin is back over 70,000. We're going to talk about that. And it looks like it's a pretty good day here. We have some miners in the double digits. Sphere 3D doing very well. Bit Digital doing very well. It looks like recently the miners have been getting a resurgence. Moving forwards, it's still time to buy these on any weakness. We're still early in the cycle, and speaking of the cycle, there's an article saying we're about halfway into the cycle. We're going to talk about that as well. Now, if you guys like these videos, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. It definitely helps me out. Check out the links down below for some free stocks and cryptos if you're interested, and let's go. And first, something I forgot to mention, we have $15 billion worth of options expiration looming. And this is both Ethereum and Bitcoin to total this number, with 9.5 billion in Bitcoin options and 5.7 billion in Ether options. Many of these options are actually set to expire in the money. This could bring some upward pressure into the market. And also, the potential for dealer hedging could also bring some volatility around $70,000, which we are at. But tomorrow, on Friday, as of this upload at least, Deribit. No, I'm not a frog. I'm saying Deribit, like derivative, but for Bitcoin. The world's leading cryptocurrency options exchange will settle quarterly options worth 15.2 billion, and this is 62% of the total notional open interest due for the settlement. And this $15 billion is one of the largest in the exchange's history. This expiry will wipe out 40 and 43% of Bitcoin and Ether's total open interest across maturities. And because many of these options are in the money, that means those holding these option contracts can execute these contracts and acquire Bitcoin for lower than the current price. This can bring positive price increase. And each option contract through Deribit is actually based on 1 Bitcoin. And as said by Luke Strigers, these levels are higher than usual, which can also be seen in the low max pain levels. The reason is, of course, the recent price rally. Higher levels of in-the-money expiries might lead to potential upward pressure or volatility in the underlying. And speaking of the maximum pain points, the maximum pain points for Bitcoin and Ethereum are 50,000 for Bitcoin, whereas it's 2,600 for Ethereum. Typically, institutions or traders with capital supply look to pin these prices near the maximum pain so that many of these options expire out of the money and the house wins. And during the last bull market, Bitcoin and Ethereum consistently corrected lower in the direction of their respective max pain points. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're heading soon to 50,000 for Bitcoin and heading soon to 2,600 for Ethereum? I definitely think we can head towards it. I think $50,000 Bitcoin is very unlikely at this point. $2,600 Ethereum is also very unlikely, but still possible. But you better believe it would be a golden opportunity to buy if that did happen. Dealer hedging is also mentioned, with the big impact being the gamma positioning of dealers into the event. Dealers are short some $50 million of gamma, with the majority focused at around the $70,000 strike. As we near the expiry, that gamma position gets larger and the forced hedging will exacerbate volatility around 70,000, providing for some whippy, choppy moves either side of the said level. So get ready for tomorrow, guys, because it will likely be a volatile day for Bitcoin. We also have some news regarding Hong Kong. Hong Kong-based asset manager VSFG and Value Partners apply for a spot Bitcoin ETF. And earlier this week, a report from Bloomberg said that the SFC, which is Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission, they're likely to allow in-kind creation and redemptions for spot Bitcoin ETFs in the second quarter of this year. And in December, only a few weeks after a dozen applicants won approval for spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US, Hong Kong regulators said they were ready to consider applications for spot crypto ETFs. And as many as 10 financial institutions have planned to apply to launch Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong. Next up, I want to talk about ARK's spot Bitcoin ETF and how they saw a record inflow day. The ARK 21 shares Bitcoin ETF saw record daily inflow, with a 201.8 million in inflows. Almost 4 times increase from its daily average of 43 million. And just check that out, they were actually the best in terms of inflows. However, according to this, we're still waiting for data from IBIT. But regardless of that, this is still a record for Cathie Wood's spot Bitcoin ETF, and that's great. Here's one thing to realize is there's still a lot of institutional investors, a lot of professional investors and whatnot that don't have access to these spot Bitcoin ETFs. And most professional investors still cannot buy Bitcoin ETFs. That will change through a series of 100 plus individual due diligence processes over the next 2 years, stated by the Chief Investment Officer of Bitwise, Matt Hogan. Here's something else that's very interesting to think about. And seeing as our all-time high came in earlier this cycle, came in before the halving, which we have not seen before. It really makes you think. Well, Bitcoin, according to this article, is currently in the middle of the bull run. And Grayscale says multiple metrics make it clear that Bitcoin is in the middle of the bull run. They mention how historically the beginning of bull markets has been marked by a surge in Bitcoin dominance, and Bitcoin's increasing dominance paves the way for a rally in altcoins. Also, look at the stablecoin supply. This is all money sitting on the sidelines, ready to buy Bitcoin, ready to buy alts. And as said by this article, in addition to an increase in intent to buy, evidenced by that increased stablecoin supply, a lack of intent to sell supported by decreasing supply on exchanges is also an important factor backing Bitcoin's rally. And data from Glassnode shows that the number of Bitcoin held in known exchange wallets has declined to about 12% of the total supply, marking its lowest level in 5 years. We also have another metric, and this is net unrealized profit / loss. As of mid-March 2024, with the NUPL at approximately 60%, and historical peaks occurring at profit ratios above 70%, it appears we may be approaching a cycle high on this measure. However, retail investor interest is still substantially lower than the levels witnessed during 2021, the peak. And also looking at Google Trends, the search for crypto, significantly lower than the peaks that we saw back in 2021, near 100 here. Right now we're below the 40s. And in conclusion, Grayscale concluded that after considering these technical and fundamental factors, the bull run will persist. However, you should monitor flows into spot Bitcoin ETFs, and of course watch other macroeconomic factors. Now, I'm not sure if I would say we're at the halfway point for this bull run yet, but seeing as all-time high came in much earlier than in a typical cycle, I would say we are ahead of schedule in terms of the 4-year cycle, in terms of the halving cycle. Maybe this time around we don't peak at the end of the year following the halving cycle, maybe it's towards the middle of 2025. Maybe it's early 2025. Regardless of all that, it is still early in the cycle, and I do believe now is still the time to be bullish. Now is still the time to buy. Now, I want to quickly look at BTBT on the chart, and then I'm going to show you Bitcoin. But BTBT just broke out of this descending channel. I mean, not just, it did this a little while ago, but it looks like now we're establishing an ascending channel, so keep an eye on this. It's very positive that we are seeing higher lows and higher highs again. That is one thing I mentioned that I was looking for. We are now back above the EMAs. However, it looks like we're testing the 200 MA, and we may find resistance on it for a short period until we eventually break out of it. So if we fail this 200 MA, if it becomes resistance here on this ascending channel, we might head back lower, potentially test our 50 MA, or head down to this previous, bouncing off point, retest, backtest this 240 area, which was a previous resistance, support, and I guess you could kind of say it played out as a support here, this area, this general area. So watch for this general area, this purple line, this 230 area, and watch how we behave if we do head down here, and watch for a bounce on this channel. But BitDigital is looking great. We had some really good couple of days recently. I do still think now is the time to add to BitDigital. And Bitcoin. I want to mention that last article about how we're like halfway into the bull market, and I want to show you the previous peaks. I know I showed you guys this a couple of times, but I think this will be one really important thing to watch for, which could indicate the top in the future, among other indicators. The RSI on the monthly. Take note that we're slightly overbought here on the monthly. We have just been ripping and ripping and ripping. A lot of people are saying we're due to correct, we're due for a pullback, and that may be the case. But also realize that, we're nowhere near the bull market top. If we do pull back, it is a buying opportunity. I don't think we will top out until the monthly is near 90. Where are we right now? Like the 70s. So yeah, short term, of course, we can consolidate, we can pull back, we can back test some lower levels. But I don't think this bull market is over until we are much more overbought on the monthly. And even where the weekly is concerned, we have seen a much more overbought RSI in terms of the weekly. And looking at the daily, because of this recent drawdown, because of this kind of consolidation we've seen in the 70s and the high 60s, Bitcoin is no longer overbought on the daily. Things are looking a lot better there. Now zooming in a bit, we're looking at the 4-hour. You'll see that this descending channel we were in, looks like we finally just broke out of it. We did have a wick that came out of it very quickly. We didn't get a candle to close out of it, but things are looking pretty good. One thing I do want to see for Bitcoin is I want to see us break our recent little top here. This roughly 71.6 area. I think if we can break that, we can break out of this level and head higher, test our previous high. Otherwise, we might remain range bound. We might come down and test this 69 area, this important previous peak in the 2021 bull market. It might take a while for Bitcoin to claim that 69 to then not drop under it again. But for a while, we will likely flirt with the 69,000. We'll see how the bears do and the bulls do as it goes under, as it goes up over 70,000. Resistance will flip as support, and we will bounce off of it, head higher, and in a short period of time, I do believe we'll be in the 6 figures. But let me know what you guys think about today. Do you think Bitcoin's hitting 6 figures before the halving? Now, I think that's a little unlikely. I think we're more likely to see somewhere around 80,000 maybe, to then hit 100,000 likely before the summer. At the rate we're going, I think that's a very good likelihood. But thanks again for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about Bitcoin recently. Let me know what miners you've been loading up on. I think now is still a great time to be loading up on the miners, and this should continue to be an exciting year. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.